So I think almost everybody knowing this understands why I use that kind of mimetic language of how to unfuck your future, because everyone feels like their future's been fucked. When they looked at their parents, they were buying houses in their 20s. You know, if I go back to when I bought my first house or apartment, I was working in investment banking in London. I was like 25. I wasn't earning a massive salary, but I was in a high-paid industry. Okay, fine. But I bought an apartment. It was 3.5 times my income. The same apartment in London for the same investment banking employees, 25 years old, 10 times, 12 times. So even the deposit now is more than I paid for the house. I mean, that's how fucked we are, and it's only getting worse. You see, as we keep debasing the currency by 8% a year, these assets naturally just go up 8% because, again, it's the optics of the denominator, the value of money falling, so it buys less. So that goes up, and then we got normal inflation. Just, go to the bloody supermarket or a restaurant in the United States. It's insanity how expensive it is now. But wages, well, they go up about 3% a year. Maybe if you're really lucky, 5% a year. But still, you kind of feel like you're on the hamster wheel and you just don't get anywhere. And that's what we've got to solve for people. Because if you don't break out of this, you're trapped. And it's a huge trap. And it's not going to change.
Raoul Pal talks about crypto and Bitcoin, breaking down market moves, trends, and the future of digital money. Let's dive in.
My father was in marketing. But I was at university in the 80s and I saw Wall Street and the film Wall Street and all of that stuff. And I thought, I want that. And a friend of my father's, it was my dad's 50th birthday or something, said to me, what do you want to do? What job do you want to do? And it was a recession, so I was sort of looking to try and get a bloody job. But I said, listen, I'm thinking between marketing and finance. He's like, it's a really simple decision. He goes, both jobs are basically in sales. In one job, let's say you work for a great marketing company like Mars. They make candies and they sell them to millions. You'll get free Mars bars. Or you go and work for a bank and you'll get free money. And you've got to think about that because really what we're trading off is our time and our knowledge. Think really hard who you give it to and what the value is. Because you can do the same job elsewhere and make more money from it. When I was at Goldman Sachs, we were hiring more nuclear scientists than the whole of the nuclear industry. And they were going into the derivatives industry because they really needed really smart people. Because it was an arbitrage. Because you can go to stay in university, lecture on this stuff, work on PhD papers, whatever. Or you can work for a few nuclear companies and get paid X, or go to a Goldman Sachs and get paid 10 times X. It was the same thing, the same use of knowledge. Now, you may trade it off and say, money's not the trade-off, I want to do good. Okay, that's another trade-off. You might trade off medical knowledge to be a doctor as opposed to medical knowledge to go and work for a pharmaceutical company and do whatever it is. But think of that trade-off and realize there's probably a better way for you to accumulate some money to unfuck your future. And that's why a lot of people do second jobs, is you can test two things at the same time. You can take a job to pay your bills, and you can do another job to say, can I do something else? Which is what you're doing here with a podcast. You're figuring out, hey, can I make a business out of this? Can I do something more out of this than I could do with something else? And that's probably a good trade-off. And then I gave you the trade-off is like, what if you've saved a bit of money? Do you actually bother to build a business or just passively invest in crypto and go traveling around the world? Come back in 10 years' time and be richer than if you build the business yourself. That's a trade-off too. Not saying one is better than the other. They all come with their pluses and minuses. But that piece of advice, A, helped me because I went to finance, and I got paid a lot more for it. So it got me faster up the curve of where I wanted my quality of life to be.
Bitcoin is back in the spotlight this week after a dramatic rebound to $116,000, just days after one of the biggest liquidation events in crypto history. The question on everyone's mind, is this the road to 120K? Or are we staring at the end of the bull market? Traders are split, and volatility is roaring back as Bitcoin's future hangs in the balance. Gold hitting new all-time highs has only added fuel to the debasement trade, where investors flee fiat in favor of hard assets like Bitcoin and gold. Last week's crash erased billions in open interest, wiping out excessive leverage and resetting the market in one of the most aggressive shakeouts ever seen. Some analysts call it a healthy reset for bulls, while others warn of another sharp correction if prices fall below 112K. With U.S. inflation data delayed due to the government shutdown, all eyes now turn to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's upcoming speech, which could set the tone for global markets. As gold shines and Bitcoin battles resistance near 120K, this week could decide whether the bull market charges ahead or takes its final breath.
They're not coming for a different planet. They're us, but different in a different quantum state. That's what I think. That's what I think. And the other one I think that is absolutely 100% true is that we are all part of universal consciousness. And I was not a believer in any of this stuff until I looked at AI and went down this whole rabbit hole of consciousness and physics, and that the entire universe is just consciousness. And everything creates consciousness, every living thing, including water, including a rock. What is a rock? It's a geological formation of atoms, right? An aggregation of atoms and whatever that form something that we call geological, which is a rock. It's actually a hard drive that stores long-term history of Earth. Give it to the right person with the right compute, and they can tell you what the planet was like, what it was like, what thing. And then you go, oh, fuck, what are trees? Well, that's climate and soil. Oh, and then you figure out, the mycelium, all of the fungal layer that lives beneath everything, the largest structure in all of the world, is all connected in a synapse that looks like a brain. And then you realize the universe is connected in the same, and you realize, fuck, it's all the same thing. It's neural networks all the way down, all the way up. From microscopic scale, when you look at inside of atoms, down to the smallest scale, up to the universe itself. And you're like, oh, it is actually all connected. And physics knows this. And quantum is just the fact of how you can compute that much, is you have to have multiple states to be able to do it. So that's my big, not conspiracy theory, but I'm absolutely certain that physics will end up realizing that space-time is not the foundational layer of everything. Consciousness is everything. And that all we're doing with AI is creating the first steps to access the universal consciousness of humans and everything else by feeding it into a superpowered machine that has now got all of the access to all of our thoughts, and we're just going to keep adding to it. And that is part of the whole kind of compute node of part of the universe. But it's all been computing forever. Everything is compute. You're compute, I'm compute, we're all compute. The tree is compute, the water's compute, everything. Ice core, when you measure ice cores, you know everything. Tree rings, what are tree rings? They're compute. They give you a perfect history of everything that happened with the climate. Everything is compute.
Ethereum is showing remarkable strength after last week's crypto flash crash, rebounding sharply to reclaim the 4,100 level and calming shaken investors. Following a brutal 20% drop that wiped out over $3.8 billion in leveraged long positions, Ether is now signaling that the worst may be behind it. Traders are beginning to regain confidence as futures markets stabilize and funding rates return to normal levels. The massive plunge in ETH's perpetual funding rate to minus 14% was short-lived, suggesting bearish momentum is fading and that the market may be preparing for a potential move toward $4,500. What's helping the recovery is the stabilization of derivatives markets. ETH monthly futures have regained a neutral 5% premium, showing that traders aren't panicking or overly leveraged on either side. Even options markets look balanced, with steady trading volumes and no major surges in bearish bets, a strong sign that the market remains healthy beneath the surface. Ether also continues to outperform most major altcoins. While coins like Avalanche, Cardano, and Sui suffered extreme losses during the crash, ETH's quick rebound highlights its growing dominance. With billions locked in spot ETFs and robust institutional interest, Ethereum's foundation remains solid. As market confidence rebuilds, the path toward reclaiming $4,500 seems closer than ever. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to BitcoinZilla for daily news all for free. That's all for today's video. Until next time.